Everybody. Welcome to the Aftershow. Welcome to the Evidence and Reasons for the Christian Faith video channel. For those of you who just finished watching my debate on the topic of theism being rational, I really want to extend a heartfelt thanks for listening to our discussion. And so I'd like to, especially my friends, you're welcome to join the StreamYard. I have 5 slots open. For those of you that I don't know, please try to identify yourself a little bit in the chat just so I know a little bit about you. We've been sometimes attacked by some people who really are not interested in even discussion at all. They're just like vandals, and we have to try to protect this channel. I'm trying to keep it family friendly. So thank you all who joined. And it was an interesting discussion, and I'll cover a few things. If people don't join, I'm just gonna, this will be just a very short show. So I really didn't know how this is going to materialize in the material that I would cover. Some things that were on my mind were sharing some personal Christian testimonies of people that have moved me. I could get, for those of you who know me and have seen the material that I put out on this channel, it's been very technical, full of science. Tonight was a chance to talk a little bit more about personal things, like personal testimonies of people that have come to the Christian faith. So let me see. I'm going to try to bring, someone had raised the issue of why God doesn't show up in our experiments. First off, if God is, one is assuming that God will want to participate and persuade everyone. Now, there's some subtleties here. I tried to allude to this in the book of 1 Corinthians, and I'm going to share that. See if I could share a 1 Corinthians chapter 1, and I'm reading from the English Standard Version. And I just want you to think about this. There are a few things that some preachers don't want to talk about because it has some disturbing implications, but I will just read it straight from the New Testament. Some of my answers to the questions of the hidden God. I actually want to do either one video or a series of videos regarding the hidden God. So let me share my screen here. And this is from 1 Corinthians chapter 1. For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. I just want to read this again and just try to digest it. This deals with the hiddenness of God. For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. Now, just bite on that a little bit. I mean, this is one of those verses that's a little troubling. God's going to actually try to shame people. Certain people he's identified, he's earmarked to humiliate. Now, I mean, this isn't something that a lot of evangelists want to focus on because it's like, wow, it doesn't seem like God's so nice. And I've been trying to say that to some people. You read the Old Testament, and it should be the impression that you get is for a lot of people, it's like, especially ex-Christians, it's like that's not a God they want to serve. Okay, I get that because it's, this God can be very cruel. But it says in the Bible, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And if a God is that powerful and he If he gets mad, that's a scary thing. That's all I'm pointing out. For those who have a softness in their heart toward God, you understand what I mean when I say you don't want to be one of those described here, one of those people that God wants to shame. So all these people that are just saying, oh, I can't be, there's no evidence and I'm not persuaded, and I need scientific arguments and I need experiments where he shows up. That's the sort of person God is going to shame. He's earmarked them to humiliate them. So you ask why God doesn't show up in their experiments. They've been tagged. Unless they repent, they're going to be the objects of his wrath. They will be the ones that will be shamed. So I'm not saying you need to accept what I've said, but this is the Christian teaching from the Apostle Paul himself. God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. So you think about the blind beggar who was healed by Jesus. He had no prospects. He was just, that person is, he fits kind of the description here. God chose what is low and despised. This was a blind beggar. He was low and despised in the world. And God chose him to work a miracle. God chose him. And the apostles, when they ran and they saw this blind beggar, they said, who sinned? Was it him or his parents? And Jesus said, no, he was actually blind so that God might show his power. Now that's also troubling in another respect, in that God let someone be blind just so God could show his power. But God showed mercy to this man and opened his eyes. Now people will say, okay, well, that was a made up story. I said, okay, well, how about Blaise Pascal? Hume, Pascal's somewhat contemporary, knew about Pascal's niece being healed and he dismissed it. But you know what? It was Pascal's niece, Marguerite Perrier. It's her life. It's her life to decide whether she'll follow God the rest of her life. And then in the modern day, I cited Charles Duke. But there are other testimonies I didn't highlight, but I thought his really stood out because he's a respectable person. He was a hero in the 1970s, being one of the only 12 people to walk on the moon. So I totally, Danny, welcome to the stream. Thank you for keeping this alive. So, it's really hard sometimes to go to these passages because a lot of evangelists or preachers just want to fill their pews and get as many people to kind of join in. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I understand that. But what they do sometimes is they omit certain passages like what I'm showing right here that paints God in a way that is like kind of frightening, and in a way that he's willing to humiliate people, So, I wanted to say, why do we have academia that is so bent on promoting abiogenesis when it doesn't make sense in terms of physics and chemistry, and then also evolutionism, and then other things, and people just saying there's no evidence, and they need reproducible experiments. Here's the answer according to the New Testament. And what's happening in the present day, the places that are despised, is where Christianity is growing. It's in these places that people are experiencing miracles or God working something in their heart. And, Detroyer, and I didn't want to get too personal and talk, and put Pogan and Detroyer on the spot, but I was like, okay, what if you were in this position? What would you do if you had no options and someone comes along and works a miracle for you and says, I did this in the name of Jesus? Would you follow Jesus the rest of your life? And, you could say, well, I don't have epistemic, sufficient reason to believe. It's like, okay, that's where you are, but that's not where a lot of people are. And there are a lot of people on their deathbed that are trying to make themselves right with God. And, they maybe in their heart, deep down, they think that there could be eternal life. And I found it very interesting that Pogan said he's not a naturalist, he's an atheist. And I'm just like, yeah, that's an interesting, I would have wanted to pursue that a little more. So I wanted
Here's
to
my view about that. I'm an atheist, but not a naturalist.
put a chat and ask, why doesn't God show up in experiments? This is the answer. He's hiding from some people, revealing himself to others. He's hiding from some people and revealing himself to others. And one of his goals is to shame. I'm just going to read it again, just verbatim, just so I don't get myself in trouble. God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. Danny, welcome, and feel free to share your thoughts, sir. I know you are friends with all three of the gentlemen that participated in the debate, so I hope you enjoyed the show.
I only watched the first hour, but yeah, I didn't know what happened towards the end. But the first hour, I think that you were a breath of fresh air for most people. Um, the the I think when we discussed the potential avenues of how the debate would go yesterday, I mentioned that they did all know each other, and so there's a history behind it. And unfortunately, I think that largely overtook. Canadian Catholic was being. I mean, there were antics going on that I particularly didn't. A lot of people didn't particularly appreciate. But how did the last half of the debate go? I wasn't there.
Tangela, I'm sorry I had to mute you. It was causing some feedback. It maybe you have to actually turn down the volume on your YouTube screen, and then you can unmute yourself. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and see if that stops it. There are always these technical things. I've done that the same too. So the StreamYard can't be open at the same time as a YouTube to this. So feel free to unmute yourself, Tangelo. Are you there, Tangelo? Everything okay?
Okay now?
You're kind of soft.
Okay now?
Yes, better. Thank you for joining. Just to explain to the some of the viewers, you probably heard this, is that I've tried to refrain from live events because of my mother's condition. She was just peacefully asleep while this debate went on. We didn't have any emergencies, but I'm able to host these after shows because of people like Otangelo and Danny that keep it alive when I might have to just step out. So if there are people that would like to join the discussion, I would be grateful. Just be well behaved. And so greetings. Let me see if I can call out some of the people who came by name. Patrick Alexander, greetings. Fredo, greetings. Otangelo, Godzilla Freak, you're welcome to join the after show. And the discussion panel, we have 3 slots available. And Mitchell, let me see if I can put Mitchell's comment up. I want to read it. Atheists would refuse miracles. Sal, not knowing that they themselves acknowledge life from non-life to begin with. Good point. These guys are willing to say that life arose by itself. They have no proof. There's no proof. That's just a faith belief, and then they say their belief is reasonable. I could show that it's not. I specifically put out these books. Do I think that those books will be persuasive? Who's to say? But that's a very good point. They will see. They'll say I didn't put a good case, and I could say, well, you guys are believing things that are probably just even more ridiculous because it doesn't stand. It doesn't stand up to scrutiny what they believe. So, Danny, go on. You were asking me before I had to fix something here.
Yeah, how did the last half of the debate go? Was it? First of all, did you enjoy yourself, or was it kind of cumbersome?
No, I enjoyed listening to learning. Like I didn't know about the principle of sufficient reason, and they're
Oh
talking
yeah.
about Cantor's theorem. I'm like, good gravy, guys. All right, and I did appreciate having the chance to hear how philosophers think, and realizing it's good for me to have some grasp of the terminology just so I can engage in discussions like this. So I briefly had to Google a few things because terms are being thrown out that I didn't understand. So that was a good mental exercise. I take it if I'm in a situation that, um, maybe it hasn't become a great debate, I'm still going to try to learn something. And Pogan was really sharp in being able to just go through the deduction in so many steps, just like a mathematical proof. I'm like, that's pretty impressive just doing it from your head. When I do math proofs, it doesn't go that fast. So I was impressed with the intellect of the other guys.
Yeah, they're sharp.
Dr. Pigeon, Lieutenant Commander, sir. God bless you.
Hey, brother. How you doing? How you doing? Hey, holy cow. This CC guy, he took the bait from these guys big time. I mean, they went down a philosophical rabbit hole that, was almost irrecoverable, and he just kept pressing their points to try and, it was almost as if he was trying to enlighten everybody to his knowledge of philosophy rather than sticking to the point. And one of the things you got to do with these guys is stick to the point. And you did. I mean, every time you came back on, you went right to the rationality of their points, whereas he just kept going. PSR, I mean, who cares? I mean, good Lord. Camus, Sartre, all the rest of those philosophers at the end of their lives all came to a point. Even Nietzsche, the more I read of Nietzsche, the more I think he was a closet Christian, for crying out loud.
Oh, what? I've read Nietzsche and I come to the exact same opposite conclusion. But
Well,
I mean,
the reason I say that, Danny, is because the Nietzsche predicted the bloodbath of the 20th century. And one of the reasons that he was nuts at the end of his life was, I believe, that it's just my feeling, that's all, that he really thought there was a God. I think his statement, God is dead, was given in the middle or the crux of all of that Frankfurt School philosophy going on. And he truly believed that good in a what do we want to say, not an axiomatic way, but another way that how are we going to recover from this? Because he saw the manhole that these guys were going down, and he predicted Stalin, he predicted Hitler, he predicted the entire Marxist cabal coming together because of Darwinism. And it was a perfect storm of both science and philosophy at that time. And that's why I say that, so.
Well, I want to say that the principle of sufficient reason was actually coined by a Christian named Leibniz. Leibniz was a mathematician.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got Leibniz.
And it plays a very big role in one of the most powerful arguments for the existence of God, the contingency argument. And so I think there is a great relevance if someone is trying to show that they're rationally justified and epistemically justified in God, they usually bring that argument up.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it is, but the thing of it is, then they started going down philosophical points and trying to refute those, and they, rather than going back and re-examining the argument and the poignancy of their points philosophically to the argument, they started arguing philosophy, and I'm like, come on, guys, what's the debate topic here? And that was kind of my point.
You thought it got lost in the weeds.
It was huge. Yeah, huge.
I only saw the first half, and I
saw the last half. I didn't see Sal's opening or anything else, and because I had Bible study till then. But yeah, and it just, I mean, every time Sal got on, you got right back on point, searching for those landmines, but also attacking their rationalism. And one of the things that could have been asked is, well, basically attacking their statements and I say I don't mean attack in a mean way. I'm saying breaking down, what do they mean by contingent facts? Those kinds of things. When they make a statement, you go right to the premise of their statement, and you can break down. Frank Turk is real good at this, and so is Greg Kukul, is to first get them to define terms. And
I agree with you. I didn't really appreciate they were using. Most people that are watching are laymen or they don't know very much about philosophy. So the word contingent has a very specific usage in philosophy that's not. It doesn't match the colloquial usage, right? The colloquial usage means something like depends on.
Correct. Yeah.
But that's not the philosophical usage. Contingent just means like could be false or could be true. Doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be false.
Yeah, and they get stuck on that whole argument rather than coming, as we hate to say, circling back to the argument. Yeah, absolutely, you're spot on. So,
well, I had yesterday night. I was at Jeff Spatchcock's channel, and I was talking with John Peterson, and I said to him, if we have 51% reasons to believe that God exists, and atheists have only 49%, then we have sufficient reason, and our belief in theism is warranted. And then he stopped a little bit to think about that. But then I said, I think that we have actually 99.9% reasons to believe that God exists, and basically no reasons to believe that he does not exist.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, no, Tangela, I was watching your side battles in there in the side chat, which were really good, and those were the kinds of arguments that I thought that were going to be discussed in this whole thing, especially the fine tuning argument. Detroyer, I think his name was, completely bypassed and dodged, and that could have been an argument to levy for how fine tuning is such a relevant argument to the entire scenario. Whether you're an old Earth creationist or a young Earth creationist, doesn't matter. It's still contingent upon an intelligent designer.
Yes, it is, in my understanding, one of the most powerful arguments for God's existence, and the only way to resort for atheists is to the multiverse, which is entirely unscientific. It cannot be proven, and there are so many problems with that proposition. I mean, also a multiverse requires a multiverse generator, and it requires a beginning, and then you have not removed yet the cause of everything. So
yeah, absolutely, and I don't see any serious atheists, the big names anymore, even discussing the multiverse, because it's just, you still circle back, as you just said, to, well, who made the multiverse then?
Well, I disagree with you. I was surprised to see that it has gained actually traction, and if you see some interviews with Paul Davies at some channels, he openly endorses it now. And
that's interesting. I haven't seen that. I'll have to go look that up, because a lot of the only time I've heard the multiverse used is like when Krauss got stuck in a corner, he would throw out the multiverse hand, and but he still ends up with the same problem. So I'll go back and I'm glad you pointed that out, Paul Davies. If Paul Davies is saying that now, which is very interesting, I'll have to go back and look at it. But even like Jerry Coyne has dismissed that, and a couple other of the more serious scientific atheists. But I'll go back and thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, I tried to find the YouTube channel where he said that, and then you can look it up.
Okay, cool. So Sal taking care of his mom, I think.
It was actually, it was at the channel Closer to Truth. It is quite recent, about 2 months ago or something. I'll put the link. The second part, then you can find the first part. I was surprised, and I see that actually as a sign of desperation. When you resort and start attempt to promote that kind of science of junk, then you see they have nothing more reasonable to resort to, and that's basically a sign of depression.
Yeah, and yeah, I absolutely agree with you 100% because it is a sign of desperation, and I only hear it getting thrown out. So, as a sign of desperation, when these guys are getting backed into a corner, so because it's nonsensical, it's resorting to absurdity, and there is no, you can't. It violates their own scientific method as well. So.
Yes, of course, but I think it's interesting that when it is in regards of us, then they say, "Oh, God cannot be proven, therefore intelligent design is not science," and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes actually to back up what they say, they resort all the time to things that they cannot back up scientifically.
Began to really focus and follow cosmology several decades ago, the
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that's Gavin. There's Gavin. Gavin, somebody was talking on your facade there. Somebody else was talking.
Okay, no worries.
And
Hope
your
everyone's
microphone-
well.
I'm fine, thanks, Kevin. Your microphone is making some noise, some strange noise.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I might
stopped.
restart. I might restart Tangelo, restart my phone.
No, but now it stopped. Maybe it's okay now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tangelo,
Danny,
thanks for posting that. I got to split. I got to get up at 0:30. But yeah, thanks for posting that. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow during my lunch break here.
Yeah. Well,
Before
Danny,
you
I
go,
see you.
Sandy, before you go, I had something I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't throw this out on the debate. Have you heard of Peter Boghossian? He's the one who started the Street Epistemologists, and he hates Christians. He tries to make everyone an atheist.
No, never. Go ahead.
His mother was dying and holding a crucifix. He couldn't bring himself to rip it from her hand and to try to tell her which she's being unreasonable praying. I said, yeah, I'm glad he didn't do something so just dastardly, because that picture there, someone's dying, doesn't have a lot of options. She may be right looking to turn to God. And even he recognized that he had no right to say she's being unreasonable and try to talk her out of that belief. But thanks for joining, Sandy. I just thought I'd.
Yeah, that's it goes back to the deathbed confession kind of thing, and it goes back to the lame argument. Well, what if Hitler had confessed on his deathbed? Yeah, is it going to be a true confession or not, or is it just an appeal to escapism, if nothing else?
So
Kevin, your
take care.
microphone is still making noise.
Okay, hey Sal, I got to get up 0 dark, so it's good to see all you
Take
guys.
care.
And you did well when CC was shutting his pie hole there. So, and not going, as I was telling Danny. Yeah, he just kept at it it was almost. He was trying to salve his own ego and trying to answer these guys had some sharp philosophical points, but it detracted from the main issue. And anyway, you got back on point, and you were, as always, the gracious Christian walk you have was awesome. So, but
thank you. We'll be in touch. I have another after show tomorrow after James' tour. So
what time?
Probably around 9:15. It depends on when he ends his show.
Okay.
So
right.
It'll overlap our apologetics meetings. Anyway, take care. God bless.
Take care, guys. God bless.
Bye.
God bless. God bless.
Kevin,
We
maybe
have-
you.
If you were,
you-
sorry.
Just as an announcement, we have slots open, and I'm going to take a 5-minute break. So, gentlemen, carry on.
Oh, so you're leaving? Okay, he's leaving.
He'll be
Yeah.
back.
Oh, Tangela, did you see the videos I made of Speed and John Peterson?
No, I didn't.
Oh man, they're great. You should look at them. Do you want me to link it for you?
Yeah, sure. Put them here
Okay.
in the side chat, and tomorrow I'll give a look.
You know Jefferson, by any chance? Jefferson Spatch Quack or something like that?
Yes, I
Okay.
was at his channel with John Peterson last night.
Oh, did you hear me talk? They were talking about you, and then I was like, I don't think Artangelo is like all. You know, they always say that you're so dumb and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't really perceive that. He's just like any other person on YouTube. You know, like I don't know. It really bothers me, but because like like John Peterson, for instance, is like can't reason worth anything. Like you can actually follow arguments, right, really well, I think. Now, while I think that there might be some roadblocks because of some certain commitments, but I think generally you can like understand arguments, and that's much better than Speed and John Peterson.
Well, John Peterson, basically what he has is personal attacks against me. That's what he always does, and he ridicules me. He imitates my voice, and that's what it basically boils down.
Yeah, I'm gonna link it in the chat for everyone. Oh wait, no, I don't have a wrench. That link doesn't work, does it?
You can put it here in the private chat, and I
Okay.
have a wrench, and I can post
Yeah,
it in
that's
the public chat.
that clip. John Peterson just embarrasses himself. It's just rather entertaining.
Well, I think that John Peterson is an absolutely terrible communicator. He has not the ability to listen to someone and waiting until the interlocutor stops to talk to then respond. He constantly interrupts people, and I really don't like it. And in special, he constantly resorts to name calling, and that is basically a confession of defeat.
Yeah, no, I mean, remember I went to your channel and we discussed. Do you feel like that was? I know you mentioned that it was a waste of time. Is that how you actually felt about it?
Yes, I think these guys, they will never change their mind because they have
No.
emotional
Our
commitment.
conversation between you and I. Remember, it was me, you, and Pigs that one night, and
Yes.
I might have. Are you saying that? And I thought you said that was a waste of time afterward. Is that how you actually felt about our conversation?
I would have to remember the details to then tell you something about it. Right now, I don't remember. I don't know why I said it afterwards at Matt Pick's
Oh, I
channel,
would have
if
not
that
been
was the case.
critical. I just was curious. I was more curious. It wasn't meant to be an attack. We talked about the problem of evil, I think. But if you and you were, I think your daughter was or your son was sick. Your kid was sick. So it was hard to have a conversation because you had to go tend to them here and there. But I just didn't know what you thought about that conversation.
Yeah, I would have to remember the details, but maybe it comes to that, and then I can tell you something about it. But basically, my feeling in regards of you, to be very honest, Danny, I see you participate constantly, like me, basically, on YouTube channels and conversations. But I mean, I have a clear goal why I'm doing this. My goal is to proclaim the gospel in the end. That's the end goal, and to follow Christ's Great Commission, which is that we should go to the whole world and tell to people about salvation and the gospel. And that's the reason why I do it. But you are a confessed atheist, and I mean, what reason do you have actually to what is your goal? What do you try to achieve when you go to Speed's channel or even here or at other channels? I mean, once you deny that God exists, and that's what I proposed to you the other day, that we could have a conversation about, that is about meaning of life. And I see it like this, and I think that William Lane Craig laid it out very nicely in an article which he wrote, when he said, once you deny that God exists, and if you do not have eternal life, then life in the end becomes meaningless, because if we do not have eternal life, one day we will be dead. We will not keep existing anymore. And if that is the case, then whatever you are doing right now, once you are dead, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if you were a jerk or a saint during your lifespan. And I absolutely agree with that. And if God exists and if we live eternally, then yes, then what we are doing here has eternal meaning. And I think that we can only have meaning if we adopt the Christian worldview or the atheistic worldview, where the meaning is that we are loved by God, we love God, and we love our next. That is, in my understanding, the deepest meaning why God actually instantiated the physical universe. And it is that we can actually know Him and know His glory and be blessed by knowing Him and give Him adoration. And he wants that we do that because it is for our own benefit. And that is what I experience today. I mean, when I investigate what we see in the natural world, then I am amazed by the complexity and by the ingenuity and by the superior design which we as intelligent human beings, we cannot copy that in the same sophistication as we see it in the natural world. We cannot come even close. Our inventions are very basic and very primitive compared to what God has done in the natural world. And this is a blessing for me, because I am in awe in regards of God, based on what I see in the natural world, where He displays His enormous power, and as well in Christ's coming, and we see His superior moral character and His love. And that basically makes us going to our knees and adore Him. And this is enormously gratifying. And once you are an atheist, you simply deny that. You deny the glory to God. And basically you start having a meaningless life, because you have to believe once you die, then everything is over. And you cannot extract real meaning from that. It can be an illusional meaning, but real meaning it cannot be. And I don't, as I said previously, I don't know how what your purpose is to go to these channels and have these intellectual fights with other people.
I'd like to extend a greeting to Second Coming. Have we met before? Thank you for joining.
Prepare for the second coming of Smoky Saint. He's returning tomorrow to separate the wheat from the chaff. Hallelujah, God is great.
No, God is not great. And I put at his channel that he should close his channel and never again come back.
Okay, I don't know what was going on there. Okay, so I'd really ask, for the sake of the viewers, that we not, guys, please don't do stuff like that here, for the sake of the viewers. You know, this isn't just the dumping ground for stuff. And so Second Coming, I don't know what that was about, but I think that was a little bit rude, personally. Okay.
Especially towards me, because I was attacked by this person like by anyone else.
So this isn't a place to be doing stuff like that. Please don't do that on this channel. We have 13-year-olds that are coming here, and it's just not cool to be. All right. So Second Coming, please don't. I'm just asking politely. Please don't do that again. John Maddox, welcome, sir.
What's going on? That sounds like the one and only dumpster fire of P. Mars. And I think he's masquerading as the Second Coming. I think that's who that was.
Okay. You know,
Affirmative.
Whoever you are,
Similar.
please don't do stuff like that, man. There are other people here, right? This isn't just your personal dumping ground. There are people here coming to learn things. This is really rude. You're really mistreating other people. It's not just me. So,
But on another topic, Sal, did you find it difficult to remain awake during your debate?
no, I was actually listening intensely to hear. I wanted to try to make any opportunity, even if it's getting maybe outside of something I would find interesting, to try to learn, because got to try to make good use of the time. So,
Well, I was more being facetious.
I took it literally.
No. I was being completely facetious in relation to. So I was busy doing stuff, and I kept like tuning in. I could only take it for about 5 minutes, tune out, come back, and every time I did, it was one of the atheists being like, "Well, we have to determine what can be considered rational. That's what has to be addressed." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so if you guys can't come to any kind of conclusion, I don't mean you, Sal, I mean like the atheists, like if you can't come to any kind of conclusion as to what is and what is not rational, then what are you even having a debate for? Like if you operate your life in the perspective that nothing can actually ever be defined or at least accepted with a reasonable expectation of probability of being correct, then I'm sorry, but you lack the mental fortitude and confidence to actually even be somebody that should be having a conversation about a topic such as this. To me, it just makes no sense. It's like, congratulations, you're publicly announcing that you can't come to any conclusions for yourselves and then back up your own claim. That's kind of what I took from it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, John, because I mean, an atheist, how can he trust his thoughts and his reasoning if he has to stick to the claim that he is just a product of evolution, which is an irrational process? So how can irrationality produce rationality? That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's really like I said, as I was listening in, I'm just like, man, I don't even understand where these people come from. I mean, I guarantee you that Praise was taking a nap. Guaranteed.
Praise likes the philosophy stuff, though, right?
Well, no, Praise loves philosophy usually, but I'm telling you, I bet he was either playing Madden or taking a nap during that dumpster fire. Weren't you, Praise?
You're right. I love philosophy, but I after an hour of it, I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of Canadian Catholic. In terms of just listening to him, he's actually, we're cordial to each other, but I can't stand listening.
Now the reason I have this thing posted here, hang on, I was posting this. I'm just going to share a testimony because we were talking about God's work in people's lives. This is an interesting story, and then I'll hand it off to you guys. But for some of the viewers here, because they're so used to me just talking pure science, it's tonight was a topic about how people are touched personally. It's a story about Mitsuyo Fuchida. Shortly after Mitsuyo Fuchida led the attack on Pearl Harbor, he discovered just how fortunate he was to be living. Along with the 21 holes that visibly pocketed the 39-year-old's aircraft, the mechanic on the aircraft carrier Akagi found a frayed elevator cable that dangled from Fuchida's reconnaissance bomber by a single thread. If it had been severed, the inevitable crash would have killed the flight commander whose radio message, Tora, 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 was the final go-ahead for the attack that drew the United States into World War II. So he led if anyone's watched the movie Tora, 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 there's that scene where Fuchida goes, Tora, 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 and they go in for the attack of Pearl Harbor. To Fuchida, who did not consider himself a spiritual man at the time, Dodging the flak over Pearl Harbor was a lucky break. But as the war wore on, escaping death became a rite of passage for the man, leading him to 30 years later to tell now retired Stars and Stripes reporter Hal Drake that someone had his hand on my head. Mitsuyo Fuchida was born in 1902 to the master of the primary school in Kashihara, about 15 miles from Osaka. His maternal grandfather was a fiery nationalist samurai who was imprisoned for fighting against Emperor Meiji's edict to defeudalize Japan. In Drake's 1971 interview, Fuchida said his grandfather's tales of former days of glory influenced his choice to pursue a military career. They also planted in Fuchida's young mind a poor opinion of Westerners. I'm going to skip some parts here. Japanese success at Pearl Harbor was so shocking that, quote, a story went out saying it wasn't Japanese flying those planes, but German pilots in Japanese planes. Goldstein said the U.S. did not think they were very good. The aftermath offered a different assessment. The Japanese lost just 29 aircraft. The U.S. Pacific Fleet lost 2,403 lives, 21 ships, including almost every battleship. 188 aircraft were destroyed and another 159 damaged. Fuchida said years later that he mourned the loss. He mourned those who died aboard the USS Arizona and other ships, but he told Drake he did not regret his role in the Pearl Harbor attack. It was war, he said. After flirting with death at Pearl Harbor, Fuchida geared up to lead the June 1942 attack on Midway Atoll, but he came down with appendicitis 6 days before the pivotal battle commenced. Forced to look from Akagi's bridge, Fuchida watched the other Japanese carriers sink as a dive bomber from the USS Enterprise scored a hit on Akagi that sent Fuchida flying. With both ankles broken, Fuchida was dragged from the smoking debris and put aboard a destroyer. The remaining pilots Fuchida was to have led, those who survived the U.S. Navy's onslaught, had nowhere to land and crashed into the sea after running out of fuel. Fuchida told Drake that Providence had saved his life. I would have died, he said. I know I would have died. Medically grounded, Fuchida accepted a staff position with Vice Admiral Kakuji Kakuta on Tinian, an island near Japanese-occupied Guam. 2 weeks shy of the American invasion to liberate the islands, Fuchida was ordered to Tokyo. When the Japanese failed to repel the invasion, Kakuta and his staff chose seppuku, the samurai suicide ritual of disembowelment. Quote, again, the sword of death had missed me only by inches, Fuchida told Drake. What did it mean? Perhaps the most convincing proof that he was being sheltered from death, in Fuchida's mind, came at war's end. After Okinawa fell in June 1945, he was ordered to Hiroshima to organize aerial defenses for a final stand against the Allied juggernaut. On the evening of August 5th, Fuchida was abruptly directed to attend a briefing 500 miles away. As he ate breakfast in Yamato, the next morning, Fuchida learned that everyone he'd been working with in Hiroshima had perished, along with thousands of other Japanese, in the atomic explosion that flattened the city. His next task was to return with a dozen officers to assess the aftermath. A few weeks later, Fuchida's role in the war came full circle when he was on hand to witness Japan's surrender aboard battleship Missouri, Tokyo Bay, September 2nd. Still, death continued to shadow him. Each of the officers who had accompanied Fuchida in Hiroshima started showing signs of illness. Some walked languidly while others lost their appetites. The officers began losing their hair and their teeth rapidly disappeared. Just 20 days after strolling through the bomb wreckage, the first member of the assessment team died of radiation poisoning. Like drowning men letting go of a lifeline, Fuchida told Drake, explaining how one by one members of the team perished, with the last on his deathbed, assuring Fuchida he'd be next. But Fuchida displayed no symptoms and was released from the hospital. Defeated and depressed, the warrior returned to Kashihara to help his wife raise their 2 children and undertake the unfamiliar family business of chicken farming. It was a rainy day in my life, he would recall. Life had no taste or meaning. I had missed death so many times, and for what? What did it all mean? In the months following the war, the U.S. military began conducting war crimes trials with which Goldstein said disgusted Fuchida. He believed war was war and things should be left at that. But because of his military relevance, he was summoned to Tokyo in 1947 by General Douglas MacArthur to testify. Before taking the stand, Fuchida was determined to collect his own evidence, confident it would prove the Americans were just as inhumane toward Japanese captives as were his countrymen against whom he was to bear witness. A boat returning 150 Japanese released prisoners was to return at Uraga harbor near Yokosuka. Fuchida would gather his proof there, Goldstein said. As the men walked toward him, Fuchida spotted a familiar face. Kazuyo Kanegasaki was a sailor and friend he thought was long dead. Fuchida asked Kanegasaki about treatment in U.S. captivity. That he was treated relatively well was a surprise, Goldstein said, but what followed would ultimately change Fuchida's life forever. In his book, God's Samurai, Goldstein writes that Kanegasaki told Fuchida of a young girl named Peggy Coville, who cared for the Japanese, not only with respect, but as a sister would treat a relative. What was so amazing was that her parents were Christian missionaries whom the soldiers had killed in the Philippines. But only after the missionaries asked for 30 minutes of prayer. But what good is it to pray to a God who could not even save her parents, Fuchida pondered. And what did her parents pray? Kanegasaki didn't know. Fuchida went to the trials a bit bewildered. He researched what he was told and was astonished to discover it happened as Kanegasaki said. The Coville parents were praying as Japanese swords took their lives. Fuchida became curious about the Christian God. He again was ordered to testify in 1948. As he got off the train at Shibuya Station, a Western man handed him a missionary pamphlet entitled, I Was a Prisoner in Japan. The subject was Jacob DeShazer, one of the Doolittle Raiders whose carrier launched B-25s bombed Japan in 1942. DeShazer's plane crashed in China, where Japanese occupiers captured and imprisoned him. After his capture, DeShazer was repeatedly tortured and witnessed the execution of 3 of his crew members, while another slowly died of malnutrition. Like Fuchida, DeShazer couldn't understand why his life was spared amid so much death. A friend lent him a Bible, which he quickly devoured. Moved by the story of Christ asking for forgiveness of those who crucified him, DeShazer vowed he would return to Japan to do missionary work if his life were spared. For a second time, a story of human ability to forgive one's enemies rocked Fuchida. This time it's stuck. That's when I met Jesus, Fuchida told Drake. Looking back, I can see now that the Lord had laid his hand upon me so that I might serve him. Fuchida lived out the remainder of his years traveling the world as an evangelist. His story is celebrated in Reader's Digest magazine, and he befriended notables such as the Reverend Billy Graham. The man who wouldn't die in war was finally conquered by diabetes in 1976. I hope you gentlemen and viewers enjoy that account.
Sal, could you lend me a wrench so I can link something in the chat?
I gave a wrench.
Thank you.
Give it a try. LPP, where are you?
He dropped off, Sal.
Oh, take care. Take care. I'm sorry to just overwhelmed with that story. I just felt this has been such a technical channel where I talk about science all the time. I wanted to give a human interest story. But that's just something I don't hear from the other side.
So, were you frustrated during the debate?
No, I partly because I expect debates to become dumpster fires. Uh, I'm not big into debate, except it's free advertising for my channel and practice. But a good example as to why I don't like debate is Dr. Tour. You see, it's really easy for someone to just make garbage, and it takes so long to clean it up. And it's going to take Dr. Tour maybe 7 hours to clean up maybe 10 minutes of garbage that quote unquote Professor Dave dumped on the world. And so I have low expectations of how debates will turn out. So I just did it partly as a favor to James Coons. He asked me, so I don't know if I'll be invited to more debates. The part of me says I almost hope not.
Who is that? Jeff Koons.
He's the
James.
owner of Modern Day Debate.
Oh, I thought it was James.
Yeah, James Coons.
Oh,
Otangelo.
okay. Oh, okay. All right.
That's his name.
Okay. Yeah. He pronounced it differently. So.
Yeah.
So, Danny, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. What's up, Otangelo?
Yeah. So I exposed some thoughts previously to Sal. What did you think about that?
To Sal or to me?
No. What I said. What I answered to you.
Yeah, you said a lot. I guess like, so let me try to level with you. I understand that, like, if I'm immortal, if I have an immortal soul, and if there's eternal life in some sense, I would suggest that would bring a lot more meaning to my life. Now, and that there's definitely a loss if it's the case that there's nothing after my life. You know, like that if my mental life ceases to exist after 60 or 70 years. So like, yeah, that and that can be depressing, right? Now, to your question as to why I have these conversations, to me, it's like a video game. Not in the sense that I don't take it seriously. I take video games actually pretty seriously. I like to compete. I'm very competitive. But I just think it's fun to talk about philosophy, to talk about religion, to talk about some political issues, although I'm starting to be disenchanted with politics. And so I think that's what mostly motivates me. And if you're saying that, well, look, that's subjective meaning, it's not quote unquote real meaning, then I think all what you mean by real meaning is something like that. There's no cosmic meaning, right? There's no that after I die, there's no significance because I don't exist. And sure, right? I don't, it might be plausible to think that's not the case. Sorry, that it's plausible to. I agree with you that if my physical body dies, it's likely that that's it for my mental life. And so I mean, that could be depressing, but I think the question, why do I get online to begin with if there's no cosmic meaning? It's just that I enjoy the conversations and I like meeting people like Sal, and believe it or not, I like talking to people like you. I don't know. I'm just fairly interested in the whole dialectic. I guess that's as much as I can say about it.
Yeah, I remember you said that at another stream. I remember now.
Yeah. Gavin dropped out. Hope we didn't say anything that drove you away, brother. So Logical Probable said he'll be back in a second. He was having some telephone issues. So
now I want to ask you something, Sal. If you were offered a second round of debate as your partner being Canadian Catholic, would you accept?
It would really depend on my schedule, and I almost really couldn't fit this in. But I had kind of like I have to admit this. I had a real petty reason for doing this. Okay. I just wanted to get a few more subscribers so I could beat Speed of Sound.
I love it. I love it.
So you didn't expect that. You didn't expect to hear that.
That was a good one. I am actually
it. I
reaching
like
that
it.
goal, so I think I have at least the same number of subscribers at my channel. And I think it was because of that video which I made with the voices, you know. I got many subscribers in the last couple of days. But yeah, that was funny, you confessing that. I mean,
Sal, but look, next time you have a debate, wherever it may be, I'll totally be your partner. And I won't argue dishonestly, but I'll like, you know, we could take on the world, Sal, right? I get, you know, science plus philosophy, you know, Batman and Robin, me being the Batman, of course, because science is subservient to philosophy, as we all know. And that's just me teasing. But no, if you ever need a partner for whatever kind of debate, let me know.
Well, thank you. Well, we've had some really great discussions that helped, and so now you know why. One of the reasons I accepted the debate. I said if I could just get a few more, I can beat speed of sound again.
That was funny. That was really.
Yeah, you didn't expect
funny.
that coming from me, but yeah, that.
No, I think it's great, Sal, because you show a lot of humanity, and I welcome that.
So moving forward, I probably will be trying to. YouTube is such a difficult interface to organize information.
Oh, so Mike has 258 subscribers, and my channel has the same number, and he was always with the same ahead of me. So, so I hope that you get there too, so we can
thank
both.
you. Yeah. So first off, I'd like to thank all the new subscribers for helping me push me over the top. And at some point, if I write a book, I will be trying to advertise it, and also this channel. So there's some things coming down. My website will have links to testimonies like the one that I just read. It's hard to just throw that up on this YouTube channel, and you know, because there's thousands of testimonies, and it's like YouTube doesn't make it easy to search like it is on a website. It's very easy to just click, and you can organize it very nicely. And so I'll be using the website to organize the information. So tonight was a chance to say, hey, you know, there are people like Logical, Plausible, Probable, John Maddox, who believe he had a miracle and it changed his life. And I actually had in mind, as I was reading some of these testimonies, I said, it's perfectly, to me, if I had been in the same position, it's like, yeah, that probably just knock some sense into me if I were being a prodigal son and start to live my life differently. And I know Christians who have like, oh my goodness, I just escaped death. I've been given a second chance, and it just kind of just does something to you. And, you know, he said his recovery was miraculous. The fact that he's still able to walk. You know, they're telling him that he would need rehab. He would probably not be able to talk, and he has all the facilities. And so I know, you know, I used to witness on James Madison University on their campus to their agnostics and atheists for 12 years. After work, I'd drive over there to the campus, drive 2 hours, and just mingle with the students just to hear what they had to say. And I wasn't trying to do heavy evangelism. I'd just give a listening ear. But every now and then people would ask me, and I'd say, oh, I'm an engineer and scientist. I'm also a Christian. One night when I was sharing that, there was a girl that was just intensely looking at me. And I spoke for 4 hours. They just wouldn't stop asking me questions. I found out later, and I asked people to pray for her. I rarely do that, but I just had a feeling. And she became a Christian. And I started talking to her. I said, what happened? She said, well, you helped me. You helped me see that belief in Christianity is rational. He said, but it really troubled me. My mother didn't. My mother is an atheist or agnostic. She didn't want me hanging around with Christians. She didn't want me to convert to Christianity. And so that's why she was attending this atheist agnostic group. but she said she had witnessed the miracle. Her best friend was mysteriously ill and should have died, and 1,000 people prayed for her, and her friend recovered. That incident haunted her for years until she came to college, and it drove her to Christianity. And so it's like, it was so easy. When God starts to touch someone's life, if they have a softness toward him, you don't have to say much. You don't even need to say anything. And she was, so all these thousands of people I witnessed to, she was the only one that converted that I know of. And I'd still do it again to reach out for that one person.
Well, I did put a post at my Facebook timeline, Sal, and I said, if someone in its entire life is instrument just to save one person, it was worth it. Your microphone is.
Sorry. Thank you for reminding me. I had to take a look. My mom is maybe needing some attention. I may have to close the stream, and then also I'll save this for tomorrow because James Tour is speaking tomorrow, and I think that I'm going to have an after show for that, even though it's going to run at the same time as the Neff versus Neff debate. I still felt that there are enough people that would be blessed to hear a discussion of James Tour's work. So
is he going live tomorrow or just another recorded episode?
I'm almost sure it's going to be another recorded episode. I actually, that's okay, because he doesn't interact with the people in the chat, and because he's a really busy man. So
yeah.
Oh, wow. So thanks, Pigs Can Fly. Thanks for that encouragement. So, thank you. Thank you. You totally understand where I'm coming from. And really, the other thing is, when God touches someone's life, it really doesn't depend on us in our persuasiveness. Thank God. When God works in someone's life and they have a heart toward him, they'll turn. Their turn.
Well, I don't know if you remember the story of the China Inland Mission, Saul, and I think it was an Englishman, and he spent basically his entire life to learn to speak Chinese and to live in China and so forth. And he went through big trouble also by health. I think he lost his wife and so forth. Mm-hmm. And he brought to Christ, I think, only one or few people. And if you put that in relation of his efforts of his entire life dedicating to do that, and then the result, which was apparently so small, but that few people actually were the founders of Christianity in China, which spread it all over. So, yeah. I mean, I think we often see things from a worldly or our perspective, which is not wider. And I think God sees everything from another perspective. And I think whatever we do for him, and in special if it was planned by him, because the Bible says that he has a way prepared for each of his children, then it can seem that what we are doing is not significant. But I think we have to trust God that he gives the significance to whatever we do, as long as it is in his will.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. And I know this was a short stream. Last night was like 5 hours, 4 hours. So we'll meet again. So this isn't goodbye. And as I said, it wasn't intentional that we're happening to run at the same time. My after show will run at the same time as the Neff versus Neff debate. But all that got scheduled before James Tour announced that he'd be having a show at 8 p.m. So I want to reach out to the people there on the James Tour channel and just invite them here, and we could talk about chemistry. And I'd be happy to try to tutor a little bit. I'm learning chemistry myself, so I have a whole chemistry stuff ready for tomorrow's talk, especially given he's talking about nucleotides. And we could do like what we did yesterday. We could go to biochemistry textbook and say, okay, we're just going to learn a little bit here just so we can understand his arguments better. And that'll probably be it for the night. So Danny, thanks for being the first to join this stream. Really appreciate it. And all the viewers.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Otangelo, thank you for being a faithful and supportive friend. And all the people in the audience. I see we were down to 11 people watching, so we're all running out of gas. Maybe it's just as well that I shut this stream down. So you all take care, and the Lord richly bless you.
Bye-bye. See you next time. Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Danny. Bye.